Okay, folks, we have this 2009 BMW 750 Li 4.4 twin turbo V8. We're changing the rear main seal, not because it's leaking, but because we had to pull the transmission out. We had to pull the transmission out because we had a transmission leak. The transmission leak was coming from the front, from the transmission pump seal. So we changed that already. Got the front pump installed, but we're going to go ahead and change the rear main seal because we're already back here and we already purchased it. But I wanted to show you what it looks like back here and show you why we're doing it. So if you look here, see how wet this is around here? Well, it's actually not leaking from the seal. The problem that we fixed before was the turbo return line cover goes on the top of the engine block. If you look right up here, see that hole right there? That actually is a weep hole for anything that spills up in the center, the valley of the engine. And when it spills out of there, it just runs down here. Where if you notice, there's a witness mark right here. If you follow it up from there, starts there, runs down, flywheel spins, and this is what you get. It's all on the inside of the back side of the engine here, all on the starter head. But it looks, if you were looking at this initially, you would think that the rear main seal was leaking. The reason that I know the rear main seal isn't leaking was because after I fixed the oil leak up top, there was no longer an oil leak. What I found was there was a transmission. Okay, so let me back up. There was fluid leaking from here. I'm sorry, from here. There was oil leaking out of here. So out of this little plug here, there's a little rubber plug that goes there. There's also one that goes here. It was running out of there. And especially over here. So you had the oil that was coming from all the way up here and running down there and coming down, and it was spilling out here. You see how this is still wet? That's where the oil was coming from, all the way up here, out of this weep hole. Once we fixed that, we no longer had an oil leak. But when I put it back together, turbos and so forth, started it up, and I had a leak. It was black fluid, but I thought it was oil, and I was like, oh man, maybe the rear main seal is leaking. Well, after I cleaned it up, wiped it off, I had the car jacked up, started it up, saw the fluid, the black fluid coming out again, so I decided to touch it, smell it. It was transmission fluid. So okay, transmission's got to come out. So anyhow, as we said before, we went ahead and fixed that, but we're going to go ahead and change this as well. I'm also going to change this rear engine cover here, that top piece there, right here. We're going to go ahead and change that because we did buy it new. There's a service bulletin from BMW that talks about oil leaking, and basically it says that it's actually coming, most of the time it's coming from, well, from what I read, I ascertained from what I read, is that most of the time it comes from the top engine cover, but they recommend that you change this rear engine cover as well as the rear main seal. So anyway, that's what we're about to do, and this portion here should take about 30 minutes or so. A lot of coolant's gonna dump out. We're gonna try to save as much as we can, and we're gonna go ahead and change this rear main seal. So on that note, we'll be back.